Today we'll be focusing on an American and non-American terrorist group. We will be focusing on the comparison between a non-American terrorist group. I chose Al-Qaeda. They are an Islamic terrorist group, as well as an identified domestic terrorist group within the United States. I chose the KKK. We will be using the 4 analytical markers provided to us by Brandon, and we will talk about the contents in modules 10, 11, 12, as well as 5. Terrorism is when a group or a person uses violence and threats to create fear among others to achieve their goals. In modules 10 and 11, we talk about domestic terrorism in the United States, and I had chose the group KKK. Per the SPLC, the group's leaders, from Duke to current chief Thomas Robb, have been plagued by their own racist views, which inevitably shine through their smokescreen, and by the attacks of other Klan members who view their interest in mainstream media and politics as hypocritical and counterproductive. While we focus on Module 12, it talks about international terrorism, which leads to the topic of a non-American terrorist group. I had chosen Al-Qaeda. Again, they are an Islamic terrorist group. Per the National Counterterrorism Center, Al-Qaeda is a Salafi Jihadist group that has evolved from its 9/11 base in Afghanistan and Pakistan to disperse a network of global affiliates and supporters. Now, using the 4 analytical markers provided by Brandon, we're going to talk about the patron-client relationship in these two groups. For Al-Qaeda, their leader is the patron because they provide the security as well as the goods and services. They also provide introduction status and protection for their group as well. On the other hand, the ones who go out and fight for the leaders are the clients because they provide loyalty as well as the praise and adoration, and they also serve and defend their leaders. For the KKK, the patron is the group leader and founder, Duke and Robb, because they provide the introduction, status, and protection. The client for this group are the others that are a part of the group because they provide the support, they serve and defend their leaders as well. Moving on to the honor-shame paradigm. For the non-American group Al-Qaeda, the honor paradigm are the people who are at home, where they are from, who celebrate the havoc and chaos that the clients produce. And the shame paradigm is the victims that were attacked and or threatened by this group. As for the identified domestic terrorist group within the United States, the KKK, the honor group are the ones who are a part of the Klan, as well as the ones who follow and support them. And the shame group are the people of color within the United States because the KKK did not like or believe that cross-racial things were right and they should not be done. Moving on to the challenge and response cycle. The non-American group, Al-Qaeda, the challenge part of this group is when they threaten someone else, while the response is how the victims respond to their threats that were made towards them. The identified domestic terrorist group within the United States, the KKK, the challenge part for them is when they threaten the people of color in the United States, while the response cycle is the fear from the people of color within the United States to these threats. For the U.S. Senate, members of the KKK, for example, terrorized black citizens for exercising their right to vote, running for public office, and serving on juries. In response to Congress passed a series of enforcement acts in 1870 and 1871, also known as the Force Acts, to end such violence and empower the president to use military force to protect the African Americans in the United States. The limited good for these two groups are very different. For the Al-Qaeda, they have limited to no resources with advanced resources. The advanced resources that they could benefit from would be things like aircrafts, tanks, and armored vehicles and advanced technology. As for the KKK, their limited good would be a decrease of members on the streets. There are more KKK members in prison compared to on the streets, and due to the decreased amount of members on the streets, it causes a less likely chance to spread more rapidly throughout the United States. And now to look into Module 5, which is terrorist violence and the role of media. As stated by Dan, the basic aim of the terrorist is to gain worldwide recognition, and this is facilitated by the symbiotic relationship shared by the media and the terrorist, such that some experts are convinced that international media coverage of terrorism tends to increase international terrorism. And nowadays, media plays a huge role in everyone's life, and it's constantly changing and evolving, and terrorists will use this to their advantage. The terrorists rely on media coverage because it gets their name out there, and they can also see how others are replying to their threats, so they can see the fear that they cause, the chaos that they cause, and they may even be able to use it to their advantage to see what is now coming their way in response to their threats that they have made. So, terrorists love social media, even though it could backfire on them. And to conclude, we have compared between a non-American terrorist group as well as an identified domestic terrorist group within the United States. We can come to the conclusion that the two are very different yet still have similarities. We also looked at how media can play a big role in terrorism, and we did this all by using the 4 analytical markers that were provided by Brannon.